Some does come from small islands. Per person, the Caribbean is one of the highest emitters of plastic to the ocean. The challenge for small islands across the world is overflowing and unregulated landfills like these. With limited space, dump sites are often close to the coast, and the main option for getting rid of waste.
There are leakage issues because of unsound waste management and low resources. There's a limited land space or landfill capacity and low resources for recycling, which leads to an acceleration of the plastic waste in country.
But most plastic pollution in the ocean is not coming from small islands. Pacific Island countries produce less than 1.3% of the mismanaged plastics in the world's oceans, yet are one of the main recipients. A lot of plastic pollution washes up on the shores of small islands because of ocean currents.
I'm interested in the dynamics of how the ocean actually moves.
Professor Eric van Sabeel was one of the first to use simulations like this to show how and where currents lead to hotspots of plastic in the ocean.
We developed simulations of how the ocean currents move plastic from one location to the other location. What we see is that a lot of the plastic stays near shores. And then some of the plastic eventually ends up in the centers of the what we call the subtropical gyres. There are 5 of them, one in the North Pacific, one in the North Atlantic, and then 3 in the South Pacific, the South Atlantic, and the Indian Ocean.
Large areas of the ocean and many coastlines are badly affected, but his research backs up the idea that many small islands suffer especially from plastic pollution.
So I think that the cities are particularly impacted by plastic pollution. And that's both the effect that it has on their local economies, but also because those cities are in the middle of the ocean there where there's a lot of plastic floating around that may end up on their coastlines.
The Seychelles is a group of islands in the Indian Ocean which are particularly affected by ocean currents. On the Aldabra Atoll, one of the country's largest marine protected areas, scientists from Oxford University collaborated with the Seychelles Islands Foundation to collect data on the source of pollution.
As you can see, the beach crest is absolutely covered in marine debris. Because Aldabra is not inhabited, we know that none of the plastic that's arriving in Aldabra is actually coming from Aldabra.
This simulation, created by the scientists, shows how debris enters the ocean from countries such as Indonesia, India, and Sri Lanka. Some of that debris makes its way to the Seychelles via ocean currents. The scientists also found another big source of waste on Aldabra: industrial fishing.
We found the majority of waste by weight was from the industrial fisheries, big ropes, nets, buoys, discarded barrels.
The team removed 25 tons of rubbish, but estimated this was just 5% of the total amount on the island.
One of the biggest things that we noticed was that the turtle nesting villages were so clogged with plastic it was actually putting the turtles off nesting there. The whole of Seychelles is impacted by plastic pollution. And this is a global problem that's arriving on the shores on a scale at which they're not able to deal with.
Although the fishing industry is a major cause of this global problem, research suggests the biggest sources are rivers in polluting countries in Asia. Those studying the hotspots in the ocean say tracking the different sources of this pollution is vital. It means the polluters can be named and shamed.
One of the things that I really want to do with the simulation is to run them in backwards mode. And in a sense, you play the blame game. And then we can assign a probability, a chance, that it comes from, say, a certain river, from a certain fisheries area, from a certain country. Then we can maybe start thinking about litigation and really get the blame game into play.
But what are islands themselves doing to get rid of plastic in their own backyards? There's one simple and obvious thing: beach cleanups. These are now common on islands across the world, and they also help in ways that the naked eye cannot see.
And every time that plastic goes back and forth, on the sand, on the rocks, that is where microplastics are actually created. And that means that cleaning up coastlines is actually the most effective way to clean up the ocean. Then you prevent it from getting back into the ocean as microplastics.
Countries can also go further and ban some ways that plastics are used. One tiny Pacific island has led the charge here. Vanuatu was one of the first countries in the world to enforce a single-use plastic ban, and it now has some of the toughest plastic restrictions in the world. In 2018, it banned items such as single-use plastic bags, plastic straws, and takeaway containers, with more items added to the list since.
Since the ban, there is a big change. Before we have no plastic bag, but now we have one.
Regina is a local weaver who says she is benefiting from the bans by selling bags made from alternative materials, such as the leaves from local trees.
When we free the plastic bags to develop the business, with our country free from the ban and plastic, we can do many different kinds of things, apart from this.
And on Vanuatu's beaches, Dr. Christina Shaw has measured the success of the bans.
So that's fishing line. So you get a sort of everything mixed up together and then tangled.
During beach cleanups, banned plastic items now make up 2% of recorded litter. Before the bans, that figure was 25 to 35%.
I think one of the big things that some of these small island nations have done is actually stepped up and made the decision. They go, no, it is a problem. We're going to ban these plastics. We're going to do what we can do. And I think that is a lesson for the bigger governments as well.
However, it's near impossible for any country, especially inhabited small islands, to survive without any plastics.
It's difficult for small island nations to be completely plastic free because we're not in control of the whole life cycle of plastics. All of our plastics are imported. By far, the biggest item we have is plastic food packaging. So, your noodle wrappers, lolly wrappers, chewing gum wrappers. We're reliant on the innovations in other nations and other big companies to make so that it makes it easier for us to try and become plastic free.
Now, more than 120 countries across the world have bans and taxes on various single-use plastics. These include big countries such as India and Canada, as well as small islands in the Pacific, Caribbean, and beyond. And while this has brought some reduction in waste, banning plastics can pass the buck. Switching to alternative materials can create other waste problems. So, it's vital to get better at reusing and recycling plastics. Globally, only 9% of plastics are recycled, 19% incinerated, 22% mismanaged, and 50% end up in landfill. On small islands, recycling is tricky because they lack the infrastructure and space. It requires sending waste abroad, often long distances, and that's expensive.
We know we need to develop recycling capabilities. I think we need to talk about the resource needs, the gaps, the challenges, and the avenues for support if we are to ever solve this problem.
And there's another much bigger global challenge here. Current recycling methods, even in rich countries, are a bit rubbish. Most plastics can only be recycled 2 or 3 times before they become unusable and end up in landfill. To solve the world's plastic problem, what's needed is a new technology to improve recycling, one that depends on work far beyond the shores of small islands.
What we really need is a recycling process that takes that material back into virgin-like properties so that it can be used in the original application again and again.
Professor John McGeehan and his colleagues have been working on just that, a whole new approach to recycling. At the University of Portsmouth on Britain's south coast, they have been identifying and engineering what are known as plastic-eating enzymes. These can break plastics down into their original component molecules, which can then be used in infinite cycles.
What we're looking for is more circular technologies that can really generate the building blocks and allow us to infinitely use that material again.
Teams of researchers across the world are searching for these enzymes that can break down common plastics. Many are looking in pollution hotspots like Indonesia and the Philippines, and also on small islands like Singapore.
The best place to look for enzymes that can digest plastic is places like beaches, corals, and particularly mangroves, places where there's high areas of plastic pollution. We've been working with colleagues all around Southeast Asia, particularly based in Singapore, where there's groups there that can go out into the field. And in those areas, we're starting to see enzymes that are developing, evolving, that can eat the plastics themselves. And we can actually then bring them back to the laboratory, identify the enzymes, and then engineer them to be faster.
Plastic-eating enzymes have great potential to reduce waste, although the technology is still a long way from being used at a global scale, and from overcoming the infrastructure challenges linked to current recycling practices.
We need to develop technologies that are scalable, but also are deployable into the areas where plastic pollution exists. And we think that's possible. We think we can actually miniaturize some of the solutions so that local communities can potentially degrade plastics and get chemicals out of those that they can then sell and actually give back to the local economy.
Plastic pollution is ultimately the world's problem, and new levels of global cooperation are needed to solve it. Although small island states have led calls for action, richer and larger countries will determine whether this happens.
We will have a strong global, international and comprehensive framework on plastic pollution.
In 2022, a UN resolution was signed by 175 countries, committed to developing a global, legally binding plastics treaty by the end of 2024. This promises to cover production, packaging, design and disposal of plastics. But for now, it's just talk and no walk.
Without coming together, we're going to see fragmented approaches, we're going to see a proliferation in this issue that would lead to unsustainable levels of plastic pollution.
We're hopeful the treaty will make a difference, but it has to be strong enough to do so.
Thank you very much for that round of applause. I think we should make it louder. I like how the documentary broke down the issues, the problem around plastic pollution. It's deep, it's serious. It's not just in our water bodies, it's not just in the land, it's also in our food right now. It's in the air we breathe. It's in our bloodstream. You know the fluff fiber roller we used to take out fluff from our clothes. You know the tiny fluff? That's plastic right there. Yes, I can see the surprise on your face. That's plastic right there. And there are all that's the one that is visible. There are the microplastic, the tiny ones. The problem is overwhelming. And you see, among all the issues going on in the world right now, when we talk about environment, there's flooding, there's hurricanes, there's heavy rainfall, there's rising ocean, there's typhoons and cyclones. But the United Nations thought it right to theme this year's World Environment Day, Beat Plastic Pollution, because it's a pressing need. Before I call our distinguished, carefully selected speakers to join me here as panelists, I'll tell you a quick story. It was 17th July 2017. There's what we call the National Youth Service Corps in Nigeria. I had gone to do that, and my mom called me early in the morning. Canon, my son, Ahoy is dying. Ahoy is dying. I think I've told that story here some time ago. Ahoy. Ahoy is dying. She kept shouting, singing on the phone. Ahoy is dying. Somebody should help. I know you're all wondering who Ahoy is. Ahoy was a big, beautiful Neapolitan Mastiff dog. About 60 kg. Beautiful, big. It was more or less like a family member to us. It has lived with us in the house for over 10 years. It comes into the house. It walks from the kitchen to the living room to the bedrooms. Beautiful member of the family. If you ask Ahoy, dance, it bends the back legs and it wiggles the tail. But ladies and gentlemen, that day, Ahoy died. Yeah. Ahoy died. It was a sad moment for the family. Sad moment for the family. But to immortalize Ahoy, we had to call an expert in skinning dogs to carefully cut out the skin. That's something they do in Africa. I don't know if they do it in Asia or India. They cut out the skin and put on the wall like a wallpaper. You might have seen tiger skin, lion skin, to put it on the wall for the memory, to immortalize him. As the man came, he butchered and diced and sliced, carefully cutting out the skin. In the process, there was a shocking revelation. A tiny intestine that should be like the size of a straw was swollen. Inquisitively, I said, cut it. What is inside? Cut it. Ladies and gentlemen, when he cut it, what we found was shocking, saddening, and heart-wrenching. It was a plastic bottle cover. It was a plastic bottle cover. It got stuck in his intestine. And just like Ahoy, and from the documentary we watch, we see millions of land, sea, air animals dying from plastic ingestion. We see colonies of majestic seabirds declining in numbers because of plastic ingestion. We see beaches and lakes filled, suffocating from plastic. That's the reason why we had to watch the documentary. That didn't even do justice to the impact, the magnitude of some of the issues. There's a certain video, a certain picture I saw. You see children in some slum communities swimming and you can barely see their head. Big size plastic covering like the size of you just see their head. Plastic. But what fascinates me the most is a study carried out by the Marine Conservation Agents that 7% of all the waste found in the ocean don't just come from our homes, but from our toilets. Yes. Who flushes it? It's me, it's you. But I want us to scream on top of our voice, not anymore. Go on. Not anymore. That wasn't loud enough. Say again. Yes. Mommy Margaret said I should say 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, go. I want us to say it after me. Not anymore. Not anymore. Yes. Thank you very much. A round of applause for yourself. Because the change we seek in our world today begins with you and I. If not you, then who? It was Mahatma Gandhi that said, you need to start with the man in the mirror. Mahatma Gandhi that said, you need to start with the man in the mirror. To no longer flushing 4 P's down our toilet, but 3. We need to take out plastic and stick to paper, pee, and poo. I want us to commit to properly disposing our waste. And we know there's different bins for plastic. Most of us don't. We just put everything in the black bag and tie it, and it starts from us. Because there's nothing like throw away or flush away. Because when we throw away or flush away, it goes somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a topic I'm very enthusiastic about. Like Robbie Marsh said, we've been trying our best to recycle plastics. Recycle, but with all what's being done, the documentary said that it's only 7%. Only 7% that is being recycled. So we need to do more. How do we do more? We'll discuss that. So one round of applause. While we wait for the other speakers, let's make welcome Dr. Eberechi Weli to the podium. You're welcome. Thank you, Dr. Eberechi Weli, for gracing us with your presence and for all the amazing work you do. I would like you to kindly, warmly introduce yourself so our audience will get to know you.
So my first name is Ebi. When people call me doctor, I'm not about to do surgery on anybody. So I'm an engineer. So my engineering is systems engineering. So I've worked in the defense industry, oil and gas industry, and the transport sector. And just now, we're practicing all our engineering in the sustainability and ESG sector. So what we've done is take all that skill and knowledge and the technology for doing defense work into the sustainability and ESG sector.
Thank you very much, and a round of applause for him. So we have two other speakers that are supposed to join us, Dr. Honi Kalari and Murad Qureshi. They'll be here in no time, and when they arrive, they would also join us on stage. Also, if you have questions, concerns, certain things you're not sure about, you can feel free to indicate by raising up your hand and ask, and we would try our best to respond to the best of our knowledge. Dr. Eberechi, what do you think about the plastic mayhem, the plastic problem going on in the world today?
That video speaks volumes. So, I took some notes as well, because some of those numbers are quite frightening. Yeah. I understand the UK numbers, understand what we've done in the UK mostly in terms of tax, carrot and stick. That's what we say. In the UK, there's ways. Plastic is an issue globally. In the UK, obviously, there's been taxes. There's been ways to reduce plastic use, manage plastic, pull in the 8-12 principles, recycling principles, or circularity principles into plastic. Because like I say, I was in the oil and gas business. We produce the plastics, or we used to. So being on the sustainability and ESG side now, I can see the effect of what we did when we produced the plastic. Yeah. So it is a big problem. Maybe my mission now, because I see it as a mission, is correct the wrongs from my past life.
I completely agree with you, because I see you're doing a lot of good work with regards to fixing these problems. Kudos, well done. But before you tell us about all of that with regards to the solution, let us understand, walk us through the life of the plastic bottle, the life cycle from the production. What kind of materials, what kind of raw materials, and why is that different from what what we have now? Why are those ones not sustainable? So we can understand the root cause of why these plastics don't decay, why these plastics don't decompose, and what's being done differently right now.
So fossil fuels are fossil fuels. They're good for us when we, if you come from the oil and gas type production countries, it's amazing to have fossil fuels because that's GDP, that's revenue. And that's where all our plastics do come from, is fossil fuels. So obviously that hasn't reduced. We're still using them in our laptops every day, in everyday material. Stuff I'm holding here is all plastic. He was talking about our garments and textile. We say textile, but it's all plastic. So it's almost something we've got to live with. And it is, I don't want to go into the chemistry of it because then I'll lose people. But it is on our everyday use. My glasses here is all plastic. People's wigs and hair and all sorts of things are all plastic. Everyday life is plastic. So in that sense, it's every day. It's a big issue because it's everywhere, and it's also a revenue base for a lot of countries. And it's not just. So I'll give you an example. I'm Nigerian by origin. Nigeria is they call it a giant of Africa. What's made it a giant? What makes Nigeria a giant is oil and gas. And the people, obviously, the humans and the oil and gas. But then Nigeria supports a lot of countries in West Africa in terms of resource, talent. If you go any part of West Africa, you see Nigerians building those countries as well. So the GDP for Nigeria is oil and gas, 70%. It used to be 90%. And that goes for the Mozambique, a lot of African countries, a lot of countries in, now you talk about Guyana, and you can't stop them doing fossil fuels. So, so it is it's a source problem because it is a revenue. It's linked to economics and linked to revenue. So how do you break that bond? That's difficult. So like the documentary was saying, we've got to find other ways then, because it's not going to stop. We're not going to stop producing. We might reduce production, but we're not going to stop producing plastic because it lives with us daily. Yeah.
So what caused that shift? At what point did you realize you need to flick the switch, you need to turn the tables to no longer being, I won't really say the cause, but being part of the cause, to now taking a seat at the table of the solution makers to fixing this plastic problem? What caused that change in you?
So it's awareness. We're here now, we're watching that documentary. That digs at anybody's heart that you've got this sort of issues in the world. So what I'll be doing after this meeting, I'll take that documentary and I'll send that through LinkedIn, social media to everybody I know, because that's a very, very good documentary for awareness. So it was awareness. I was making a lot of money, to be honest, in the oil and gas, because I was well paid. We were producing quite a lot of oil for BP and Shell and the Norwegian companies, and I was in the center of all of it. I was a systems engineering manager and a department head and getting a lot of money. I had a big team, so I was enjoying my job. But at a specific point, when, like this awareness documentary, I started meeting people like yourself who have been planting trees. I've known him since planting trees since he was a teenager. And I couldn't quite understand why people, what was all this for? At that point, I didn't have a clue what was going on. But it was this gradual exposures. So there wasn't a one-day switch. I didn't wake up in the morning and go, right, I've got too much microplastic in my system now. I'm just going to change. It was those gradual gradual evidences and gradual documentaries and awareness that got me to think, right, I need to use my skill set to help solve the problem rather than sitting in the problem and being happy with my roles and my job.
Okay, Mommy Margaret has a question. Yes, go on.
How would you say in normal houses, when that was possible, how would we be able to have less of it? Or, you know, how will you recycle it?
Did you get the question?
Yeah, how do we reduce plastic use at home, yeah?
Yes. And
Yeah.
how to recycle?
How to recycle.
Okay, we have 2 more questions, but okay, we'll go with Mommy Margaret first. Okay.
Okay, yeah, so starting with home use. I've got my wife's mom staying with me now. She's living with us. But there's some old traditional ways that she's using that I'm learning at home. In the house, in my house. I'm talking about my house now, you know. I'll start with my home. Gandhi says, start with what you know. Start in the mirror, the man in the mirror. So, so what she's taught us at home, and this is something she learned as a child, is a lot of reuse of not plastics, but a lot of a lot of metal type containers. So we don't buy plastic where we can avoid plastic buying. We avoid plastic buying in general. So the only thing I think in my fridge at the moment, which has got plastic, is my milk bottle. Everything else is either tin, aluminium, something like that. You know, it's all different, all glass containers. We buy less plastic. The bottles of water we buy I know it's expensive, but it's bottled. It's actual bottled water. Breakable bottled water, not plastic bottles. So in our home, we try and look for simple ways to reduce the use of plastics. But everybody's home is different, because the way my use and the things I do at home are slightly different from, but it's that consciousness.
Yes.
It's that consciousness on how you, yeah.
Every time I'm putting something
Yeah.
in the fridge that's left over,
Yeah.
it's a Tupperware.
Yes.
I think, what can I do?
Yeah.
What should I do?
Yeah. Constantly, you've got to ask yourself the question of how to.
But now they are changing all this to container,
Yeah.
bamboo or
Yeah,
glass
yes.
and other containers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We use that.
Yeah, so to add to that,
I think there was. Oh, sorry.
yes. We have 2 more questions. Sorry, we'll come to you. I think we have till 8 p.m. So,
Number 2.
yes. To add to that, there's something my dad always says. He says, as an individual, I'm just a drop of water. But when we come together, we'll form an ocean. As an individual, my effort, my impact, my effect will create a little ripple. A ripple, you know what a ripple is? Yes, but when we come together, our collective effort will create a wave. And that's why these kind of conversations are important. Because if we all be like Dr. Eberechi, where we no longer patronize plastic bottles, and everybody begins to patronize the bamboo, like she said, and the breakable bottles, then somehow that would be a direct message to the plastic producers that maybe people are no longer patronizing them because of the plastic bottles. And also to add to that, reusable bags. We know, the plastic bag is just 10p. It's not a significant figure, so we can just swipe our cards and tap our cards and pay. But if we don't patronize those reusable bags, when we go shopping, grocery shopping, we go with if we don't patronize the plastic bags, and we go with our reusable bags, and they realize that the bulk of the bag remains the same, over time, gradually, all of those would begin to fade away. and that would gradually reduce. We've seen some animals suffocating. They swim into the plastic bags and they get wrapped in it and they die. We've seen some other animals get strong around a plastic cord, like I've seen a turtle, I've seen a crocodile. They just get into it, and as they grow, it gets tighter. As they grow, it gets tight. And those are the ones we see. There are millions of animals. How many can we get on camera? So it starts with these little efforts. Yeah. Okay, so let's go with ladies first. Yeah, just ask.
Hi, Michelle. Good evening, everybody. The thing that really jumps out at me from what you're talking is about a value system, and you're always talking about, and you've talked about money and GDP and giving money value, and the only value it has is what it can be exchanged for. And so I think the focus needs, it's a value system, and it's the old system. It's not the new system, it's not the future, because we're now learning to look at quality and lifestyle and it's the batteries.
Yes. I think we kind of understand what you're saying. I think it's a contribution you're making.
And so,
yeah, we can hear you.
unless we have, we start to change the value system, and the thing is that, from what I understand, we're moving into an age of, it's called the divine feminine. And if you kind of look back, you see that everything has been sort of constructed by men. I mean, the Torah was written by men. Money is created by men. It's just that the men have written and constructed everything because there's an element that's missing. And in the beginning, you had the Alpha and the Omega. So they're equal, and women don't walk behind and they don't walk in front. It's a side-by-side thing. And until that, and that is something that then women need to be stronger. But not
thank you
more
very much.
powerful, but just to have, to have that balance. And we've been out of balance.
Yes, thank you very much. A round of applause for her. Thank you. Okay, let's hear you, Pelham. Yeah, please give him the mic. Yeah.
Thank you. At the moment, landfill sites in Britain are almost at capacity, to a point where Scotland right now is going to start importing all its rubbish each morning to England. So how important is it to stop 100 trucks of rubbish every single day of the year being imported to England from Scotland, first of all, and how even more important is it to stop soft plastics being used by supermarkets in Britain?
If I got you right, you say that plastic is being imported from Scotland into England, yeah? Okay, so
Why?
there's certain plastic recycling machineries and plants that requires a certain volume of plastics to keep them alive. I'm very aware of this because we've done some study about some of these in Sweden and Denmark. For instance, let's say the capacity of the machinery can take a minimum of 5,000 tons per day for a working day to be considered successful. And then they gather all they have around Manchester and London, Bristol, Cardiff, everywhere, and it's about 3,000 pounds. Now they need to go get. Because if they don't need it, there's no way they will bring it into England. They don't force it on them. It's the same thing with some other countries. They go to Africa. I used to run a recycling plant in Nigeria, And just recently, we've gotten a warehouse. We are expanding operations. We stopped since COVID, but the reason we stopped was so we can scale up. Instead of just billing and selling, we now want to not just bill, but shred it, crush it, hot wash it, pelletize it, turn it into flakes. That way it becomes 10 times more expensive than just billing. We are going into that, so I understand the system. And when we used to sell, we sell to guys in islands. They come to Nigeria, what we used to give them wasn't even enough. I used to go meet some other guys and get more, and because they used to use it to make plastic sheets. Just the way we have toilet roll, when they are done making it, it's in a roll, like toilet roll, but 20 feet long. And then the production companies come and buy those sheets. The production companies buys those sheets, and then they cut and punch it into different shapes and sizes. So, for instance, the plates we use to make the plates we use to pack fruits, like grapes, red grapes, blue grapes, blackberry, all of those plates are made from their sheets. They buy the sheets and then they cut and punch into different shapes and sizes. But in summary, when those things are imported or exported, it's based on mutual agreements. Thank you very much. Eberechi, do you want to add to that?
No, so I'd just like to talk, Scotland, England, and movement of plastics. That's a strange one, but yeah. There's UK tax for plastics. Plastic production, plastic use. There's also, recently, there's a mandatory requirement for all small businesses to digitize how they're recycling or managing plastics for all businesses in the country. So there's moves around trying to manage plastics. But the other thing we are actually currently working on through a trade partner and trying to sensitize the UK government is on plastic offsets. Just like you've got carbon offsets, and people are making money from carbon offsets, there's also an incentive, not just tax. So you tax, but you also incentivize with plastic offsets. So that's something else we're working with partners, and we're hoping the UK government will start looking at those from next year. Probably make it law and mandatory.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eberechi. And while you were talking, we had our second guest just walking. I think he had to run literally down the road because we can see him sweating. A round of applause for him for making it down here.
Thank you.
Yes. So let Robin introduce him.
Dr. Murad Qureshi, he's been here a number of times before, but 1 year ago for World Environment Day, you also spoke. So he was a former London Assembly member, and he was responsible for transport, I think, for an environment within the London Assembly at that time. So one round of applause for Murad for coming. Thank you.
I've done all the speaking in the last...
You want me to do? Okay.
Yes.
Well, look, thank you very much for inviting me along this evening on Environment Day. And the issue of plastics is something we can't ignore. It's literally it's going through us. I read something recently, the amount of plastics that actually literally flow through us now without us realising. But I wanted to concentrate on the local stuff, if you don't mind. How many people here are local residents to the City of Westminster? Okay. There's one or two people. I just say that because I'm based in the City of Westminster. It's where I grew up. And it's like most London boroughs is making a huge effort, but the rate of recycling, let alone plastics, hasn't substantially gone up. There's a target of 65%, which the mayor has set, but we're kind of stuck on 30-odd%. If you look at the business sector, you know, in the West End, they're about almost 50%, so they're doing better. But a lot of the things that we put into recycling are plastics, and it's just reality. The amount of packaging we have in our food. I mean, I'm amazed that most of my recycling is probably plastics. And I think one of the questions local residents as well as other residents in London should ask is to what extent that is actually being recycled, the plastics particularly. Yeah, and the sad truth is it depends in different where you are in London. The reality is recycling is done better in the outer London boroughs. If you're in Bexley, anyone from Bexley here?
I'm close.
You're close. Okay. Well, you do a lot more recycling and no doubt more plastic recycling. But the real problem with plastic recycling is that you have to break it down in all the various components, and they're far more. I mean, tell me if I'm going over ground that you've already.
You're right on track. You're answering all the questions I had for you.
Oh right. Okay. So. That is something we've not cracked, for the simple reason it's actually very difficult to break down plastics. I personally think if that's the case, then we have to go back to the corporation and say, minimise your packaging, and if you're going to have plastic packaging, make sure it's biodegradable much sooner than the 100 years it's taken at the moment. I don't think it's beyond the wits of mankind or humankind to do that. We've tackled many other issues. Why can't we do this? The problem is actually not at the local or even regional level in London. It's national and over Europe. Now, I had a lot of faith that the European Union would do this when we were in the European Union, but they kind of backed out of that. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I think that, let's deal with the problem at the source, which is the corporations and their packaging, and there's no doubt it's increased. So, when you go for fresh food, fresh fruits or vegetables in your supermarket, it's packaged, in plastic. Well, I mean, so you may feel you're doing something worthwhile for your health, but actually environmentally it's not so good, because you're taking various forms of plastics which are take a far longer time to biodegrade than if the packaging was in paper, and what we've traditionally did when we had fruit and vegetables outside in the street market. Now, I don't think I'm too romantic, but I think one of the issues we lost was when the supermarkets went for fruit and veg inside their stalls, they went for mass packaging. My experience with fruit and veg bought in street markets, it's not packaged by and large. You buy it in paper bags and boxes and what have you. And I don't think it's too romantic to expect that. I've seen kind of some delicatessens and small mini supermarkets who are very committed to their produce, presenting fruit and veg very well without all the perlophonia. I mean, there's one example, there's something called Elgin Market on Elgin Avenue. It's an Iranian-run delicatessen where they present their fruit and veg and very elegantly outside. If they can do it, I can't see why others can't do it. And I get the sense when I'm buying stuff there that I'm not buying a lot of plastic to maintain and keep it in the fridge and what have you subsequently.
So what do you do in that regard? Because now we know this is clearly a problem.
Yeah.
Buying fruit means you're buying plastic.
Yeah.
Patronizing veggies means you're patronizing the plastic industry. What do you do before? Okay, after that you can also tell us. We have two questions, but before we take the questions, just let us know, how do you manage that as an individual, and then what significant move did you guys make or carry out when you were in the assembly?
Yeah, I mean, what we did in the assembly was essentially scrutinise these issues. One of the big issues is the variations of how recycling and rubbish collection generally is done in different local authorities. There's no doubt it could be improved across all local authorities if we had similar systems. But would you believe it, both Ken Livingstone as mayor and Boris Johnson as mayor, both their administrations came to the same conclusion, that it could be done better centrally. But that was not; those powers were not given to them from the departments, whether it be under a Labour administration or a Tory administration. I think the real problem was some of the civil servants, personally, because they kept coming up with the same barriers. The councils themselves have got in with other councils. It's very difficult to operate by yourself as a local authority. For example, one of the strategic decisions they made in City Westminster was that most of our rubbish went to Paddington Basin. That used to be where all the rubbish in central London would go. Now it goes to Southwark. Yeah, Southwark, and there's a recycling plant there and what have you. But one of the things where we did get it right, I think, is actually a lot of the waste it's still a target. By 2026, we want to reduce all the rubbish going to landfills. And that was actually led by the European Union and their rules and regulations. I can't see why they can't do that again. If they could do it, even though we're outside of the European Union, if they set the standard, it would mean all the main manufacturers would see fit to do that even for the British Isles. But they've lost the focus for whatever reason. I suspect there's been a lot of lobbying done at them to not take that step. But, there's a famous Swedish family that does all the packaging, and they've done very well out of it. And maybe it's time for them to change their ways, but we're not going to be able to do that if we don't have entities like the European Commission prepared to take them on. I think we continue applying the pressures. I hope those who can vote in European unions in other parts of Europe raise that issue whenever these European parliamentary elections occur. And we also bring it up domestically. I do think some of those powers, if we're given regionally, it would then give the scales of economy to have recycling plastic plants in East London, which is what I can distinctly remember Ken Livingstone wanted to do, but he didn't get a third term, unfortunately. And at that time, it would have cost not a lot of money to take the loans out to build those facilities into London. I think we've got to continue pressurising people. I think there's a lot of new shows coming up. I think the ocean, which covers 70% of the Earth, is where a lot of our plastic waste is actually ending up.
We just saw it.
You did?
Okay,
yeah. Okay.
Well, I think you speak very passionately from your heart. So we would need a policy recommendation from you, and also Dr. Eberechi. That will be to wrap up and to conclude.
Okay.
Because we know everything rises and falls on the strength of our policies.
Yeah.
We would need a policy recommendation from you both that you think we should lobby from the government, and also a parting advice to everyone. But before to think on it, ponder on it. Before that, we'll take two questions from.
I would like to ask you, how can innovations like Japan's water-soluble plastics be scaled globally and adopted by countries like the UK, making them affordable, accessible, and supported by policy, education, and environmental justice to truly beat plastic pollution and promote peace?
Okay, so this is going by the Japanese example. Well, look,
As you know, Japanese only have like...
No. I mean, there's a lot to be said for following the Japanese and most of East Asia. And there's no doubt, environmentally, they're much further ahead than us. One of the first trips I made as an assembly member was to go to Japan, to Tokyo. And I actually think that it's not just the administration, their philosophy of life is quite different. I mean, you can see that on the streets.
Yes, you're correct.
You don't have, for example, there's a conflict on the streets here between pedestrians and cyclists. You don't have that in Tokyo, amazingly. And they have got a very strong culture of cleaning up. I mean, what amazed me is when you go to Japan football stadiums and you watch the football, they pick up all their rubbish. Here, we just leave it there and then. It's worse in South Asia, actually, but they're meticulous in picking up their own rubbish.
Do you think innovation like that is able to solve our plastic problem?
Not in itself, that's part of it. I think some of our behavioural changes, one of the things I would like to do is see us show companies that we prefer buying our fruit and veg in open market stalls rather than supermarkets. I think that would help street markets, and supermarkets would then
Should governments mandate biodegradable packaging for certain industries?
I think government should go actually insist that they should set the standards of biodegradability. Is what I want government to do. I think that is far better than anything government can do. They should be setting standards and norms and regulations and make them as high as possible.
I think I appreciate Duchess's question because she's got loads and tons of followers, millions of followers. So I see that she needs clarity on this, so she puts out the message because that's the essence, to propagate and propel.
Yeah. Yes. If we start plastic economical viable for small businesses and start up, it will be great. We have to start somewhere.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree. Thank you very much, and a round of applause for her. So, yes, our third and final speaker just stepped in. So, kindly introduce yourself, and after that, we'll take a question. Yes.
Absolutely. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's so great to see all of you planet lovers here today, and also for Environment Day. I think it's fantastic. I'm Dr. Hani Kalaria. I'm also the district chair for the Environment Committee for London Rotary. So my work is always working on various projects that are related to entertainment and environment and all the things that I do actually. So my background is entertainment, performing arts. So what I find, what is really, really useful is to use environment and entertainment together to raise awareness of really important topics such as this. For example, recently we released and produced a song called Everybody Plant a Tree Now. So this will be really good. We can get everybody dancing, but this gets our youth, our young people involved in understanding why it's important to plant trees, why it's important to protect our environment. Recently also we started working on another project which is called the Soul Foundation online environmental course. Now this is related to the 17 United Nations Development Goals. There are 17 modules for children to go online to learn, one of them being about the plastic, how to protect and why it's important, to beat plastic pollution. And all of these things we feel is important that we start teaching our youngsters, help them to get the right mindset, get them the right habits in place from a younger age. For example, my parents used to teach me whenever I was small, don't throw litter outside. So some people used to just eat a sweet and throw it outside the car when you're driving. Whereas my parents would say, no, put it in the side and then throw it in the dustbin when you get home. So it was just something little which we don't think much about. But now I don't even feel that I should throw any rubbish on the floor because it's a habit. But it's something that we all need to come together for to help to, I would say, educate young people, inspire them, and also be the role models ourselves. Because if we do it, then all the young people would also be, inspired to do this. So my message here, I don't know if you had any questions. I know I came a little late, a very big apology from my side. But I have a lovely lady at the back wanting to... Oh, yes, and then we'll come back to you in a minute. Thank you.
Good evening this evening again. The night is still young. Because over there in my countries, the sunset will took place in around 6 to 6:30. Here it's 9:30 to 10. So the night is very, 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 very young here. Like, like India, like we are the first population in the world. 141 crores peoples there. So instead of thinking of countries like small population, the big population, we are the presidency for environment earlier dose. Before coming this globalization and privatizations, we the peoples who love the natures. See, where the plastic is more involved in early days, where the marriage or the public meetings and this kind of place, they take lots of plastics, plates, spoons and everything. But early days, our peoples, our forefather, were using the leaves, like recycling, you know. Banana leaves, it's a recycling, one use. And you know the lotus leaves, like my grandfather, my families, when we take the marriage functions, we cut the lotus leaves and we serve the food on it, and you know, we serve them. And also the banyan trees. We cut the banyan trees and we dry it and we stick it with the sticks, and we have these things. Now we have plates with the banana bodies things, you know, we using this. So, you know, it's, we from, like, I was at, like, hope you know, the historical town, it's called Mamallapuram. It is Pallava dynasties. It is an international tourist place, and it's been recognized by the heritage of United Nations. So, you know, there, the government of Tamil Nadu, like where my province, they have a very good law. If you sell plastic, they seal the shops. Yeah, they fine the peoples, the sellers. You cannot sell plastics. The government, the local, you know, mayor and you know, municipalities, they give every house the cloth bag. Jute bag. You know, they give for this for recycling. You cannot take plastic. Even in the airport, they strictly banned plastic. No. Our hill station, we have a beautiful hill stations like Queen Mountain of Ooty, Princess Mountain of Kodaikanal, and small others. They'll, in the entry itself, they'll check every vehicles, whether you take plastic or not. If you take plastic, you just they cheese it the same place, and they're not allowed if you wanted to go with the plastic. So this kind of things, like huge countries and huge population, we have strict law also. The government and, you know, for the local municipalities join together to succeed this. We have you know, like more than 8,000 kilometers oceans coverage. We have Bay of Bengal, more than 3,070 kilometers. Particularly for Tamil Nadu, we have 1,070 kilometers. The Western Gate, again, Arabic Ocean, it is again 3,000 kilometers. So where this plastics comes, like as we say, the witness of these things, it's in the oceans, you know, like ships and all that and that. We, the peoples, we producing for the turtles. We have a large things and everything there. And we look forward to work again with you peoples with this environment. We have to save the environment for best things for the future. Thank you.
I remember the young man. I remember the young man who introduced you. He said you speak like a politician. I think that's exactly what you've just done. You've taken the time to tell us the good about your people and let us know that your people don't pollute with plastic, but the plastic comes from the ocean. A round of applause for
See, like 2 weeks back, I went to Mumbai, which is the economic hub. There is a place called, this is the second, in Asian, we have the largest slum villages. It's called Dharavi. Dharavi is now, you know, these peoples, we said it's a cherries, it's a slum. They are the peoples, more than 2,500 and 1,000 peoples who's work for the recycling for plastics. So now, the early days, the plastic is the economic. Now the recycling is economic again for the peoples. So, you know, we joined hand with the government and the NGOs. Still, we work for the better, for, you know, like as a big population. We work we do our best.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for him. Okay, let's quickly take the last question, and then we would want all the panelists to... Yes, so someone should please give her the mic. I think she's been... Okay, you can come close and grab the mic. After that, we want all the panelists to recommend a policy statement. A policy statement that will help fix plastic pollution, and then a pattern word of advice to everyone here. Okay, go on with your question.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, all. Well, initially my question was going to go to the politician on the stage, but when...
There's another politician here.
I'm a politician too.
Okay.
So, but when Dr. Kalari, Dr. Honey had her...
Yes.
Gave a speech, I thought it was just appropriate to go to her.
Okay, that's fine.
Because
Over to
she
you.
raised, yes, I'd noticed that nobody touched on, this very salient point she did about education, educating the coming generation, the coming generation. And I was really happy she touched on it, because my question was, what are the policies in line to educate people? My daughter just finished her GCSEs yesterday. And yes, she's an outstanding student in all her courses, including geography.
Well done.
However, I was mortified when I asked her if there was anything about beating plastic pollution and environmental degradation in her curriculum, and it was not. So that was why the question was going to go to you initially. But I guess you'd be able to profess some solutions or what the government could do to start educating young people and ensure it's in the curriculum.
I think that's an excellent question. It's a very important question. And we don't realize that although we're all wanting, of course, the same thing, we have the same vision, the same focus, that we want to protect our planet, we want to beat plastic pollution, etc. But what happens about our future generation, the youth, because they're our next generation, they're the ones we need to train, we need to give them the right mindset, and they're the ones we should be, definitely encouraging to become a little bit more conscious about how to protect the planet. So one of the projects that we are currently working on is something called the International Children's Peace Network. We're organizing an assembly. It's a children's assembly, people from 12 to 17-year-olds. And what we're looking to do is to develop youth leaders. And what we believe is we have to provide youth leaders with holistic training, not just formal education, as you mentioned about the daughter. We talk about holistic training. So what we mean by that is there are 4 pillars. One is peace. Second one is education, informal education, like character building, ethics, value-based training. Third one we have is creativity, how you can become, problem solvers. It could be through music, art, anything that you feel you would like to express yourself with. And the fourth area we work on is environment, because we feel these are 4 pillars that we need to teach our youth about. And if we can help to nurture them, to develop them, and turn them into the best kind of youth leaders we can, we know that they're the ones who are going to become the politicians, they're the ones who are going to become the business people, our community leaders. So if anybody was interested in something like that, my policy would be that we should be kind of introducing informal education as well to our young children for something like this. And the International Children's Peace Assembly is taking place between 16th to 24th. So policymakers could also get involved, see and guide us, advise us on how we can shape this for the future. Because it's a journey. It's not something that we set up a policy and suddenly everything changes. We have to slowly shift the mindset from mind to mind, body, soul. Because it's not just about the right thinking, it's about the right action, and it's also about a spiritual inner wanting. You have to be conscious about this. So my answer to you was a very good question, was that yes, we need to get maybe policymakers involved in how we can bring in informal education into this, and it could be having fun over summer holidays and develop these leaders. Thank you so much. And thanks for the question.
Thank you so much, and a round of applause for her. Okay, I think, do you have a question?
Yeah,
Okay.
not questions. I don't
Okay, we'll take the questions and then we come to your contribution, and then the panelists would do the closing word. So let's wrap it up. 1, 2, 3. Questions. We'll take all the questions together, then we come to your contribution. Okay, let's start with you at the back. Okay, go on. Good. Can someone please give her the microphone? No, there's another one there. Yeah.
Okay, one thing I've not heard about of this is, what is going to happen with the use of what they call recycled plastic? I mean, when it has been melted or something, when it goes in the sea, what comes out, you know? Or the use of hydrogen, when people say they want to use hydrogen from water. What will happen in long range about the effect of it? Because that has not been aborted from what I've heard. And I think this is something very important, to check out the consequence of if you transform the plastic into microparticles or whatever, or melt it in the water, how is it going to affect the water afterward? That we are not building another form of problem for later.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. A round of applause for her. Let's take the next question.
Well, it's not really a question, it's just a comment. Hi, honey. Hi. Honey is my fellow Rotarian. If she starts, she can be here till tomorrow, but it's quite interesting. So it's good to see you today. And I tell you what, when you talk about how to get involved in this, is it not plant a tree? You gave everyone an assignment to plant a tree. So she's know what it's all about. So it's a good connection. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's take the last question. Can someone please send the microphone to him?
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yes, mine is the one comment, observation, also a question.
Okay.
You see, I've traveled the world, as everybody else have. We seem to be talking about today mostly UK, and you got a world environment. So, I mean, I've traveled in India and other places. I just come back from Mexico. Every country is dealing with this issue differently.
Okay.
So I've seen in India what's happening. I've seen here. We are quite forward from where they are. And what I see on the film was all the islands around the world are suffering because not from here, it's from around the world. Now my question, what is our society, what are we doing, what are we doing to educate people around the world? You know, I'd like to know that a bit more.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. A round of applause for him too. Yes. Okay, the first lady asked about what happens to plastic when it's recycled.
She talked about hydrogen.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, came into it. Yeah.
Okay. Let's allow Dr. Weli respond to that.
Sorry.
Yeah, she talked about hydrogen.
You talked about hydrogen. Yes. How does hydrogen come into the plastic?
Not directly, but this is another issue which come as the consequence of extracting hydrogen from the air or from the water. The consequence of doing it over 100 years, 200 years, or whatever, if we are not going to build up a massive problem for the future.
Oh, but that's not a plastic. It's not a plastic problem. Yeah.
Okay, I think she feels she's in the midst of professionals, so she wants to ask.
If plastic is transformed in micromolecule or melted in the water or evolved in something, what is going to happen over 100, 500 years? Are we not building another form of problem because we didn't think about the end product?
All right, maybe we'll have a discussion about hydrogen because I'm in the hydrogen space. So we can talk about hydrogen separately. But hydrogen is not a plastic problem.
Yes, it's different from plastic. Yes. Yeah, a round of applause for her. So we have the final contribution from...
It's a good point. I don't know if you like it or not.
Okay, go on.
Go on.
I don't know if I have a...
We can hear you.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Oh, really?
Thank you so much. Oh my God, I have to wear my glasses. Not really. Right. My name is Balanandini Balasubramaniam. I came from all the way through Nottingham, but actually I'm from Sri Lanka. That's a beautiful island. First of all, I want to introduce myself. Okay. I walk today where voices rose. Breathe clay, calm, sacrificed rose. A temple not of stone alone, but minds that make the earth their own. They spoke not loud, but clear and true. Of ocean deep and skies once blue. Of trees that weep in the woodless pain, and soil that threats for touch again. We take their each broad haste, then greet their lung to ash and dust. We ask for gold, for oil, for race, just never need breathe her trees. We dress in the cotton, slip the spring, just break the hand that give these things. We bathe her hills, we choke her song, and claim its right, thoughts we are wrong. She is not stage, she is not store, she is not something is to ignore. She is the breath behind our birth, the pulse, the poem, the living earth. You think you stand outside her skin? No, you are soil and wind within. The atoms in your very blood, we once the river, flame and mud. So come repeat with hands, not tears, under the crimes of 100 years plant. One smell seed become her guest, and lay your anchor down to rest. Thank you.
Thank you, and a round of applause for her. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, right now we'll take the final word from Dr. Eberechi Weli. Let us know a compelling, convincing policy statement you think the policymakers, the lawmakers, the assembly members should enact to solve and fight and mitigate plastic problem.
Yeah, so, for me, source to sink, always. Secularity. So if you're thinking source to sink, in that secular economy with plastic, let's say plastic is in the middle of that secular economy, is how from the people producing the plastic, we're not just taxing, because taxes are not going to do because they're still going to make money.
Yeah.
You tax a corporation producing plastic, they're just going to add that onto the users of the plastic and find little incentives, and we'll keep using the plastic. So the tax is not solving the problem with the people producing plastics. So what we're thinking is, whilst plastic is being produced, there needs to be a form where we can look for a form before we can gradually remove plastics from circulation, from that circularity, is to incentivize less use or incentivize everybody else who's using plastic to also make money out of plastic. Sorry, I'm being a bit...
That's how the consultants behave.
Yeah, I'm a consultant. So I'm an engineer and consultant.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, rather than this money being made by the people making the plastic, because the taxes are just coming to everyday man, yeah? And we're not getting away from this plastic. So why don't we find a secular solution where ourselves, as the individuals who are using the plastic with a view to reduce using that plastic, also kind of make, this is where the plastic offsets come in.
Yes.
Also make some value for the individuals as well.
100%. I agree with him, and a round of applause to him. Very smart, very smart. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you. Can I just defend the younger generation first. I don't think they need educating. They know this stuff already better than the baby boomers and the older members of society. Because I actually think that the real problem is that there are many of us who consume too much, and it's linked with wealth and income and what have you as much as anything else. I think that's where we need to get people to change their behaviour. Like, for example, people taking enormous numbers of flights. There should be a flight levy. And a similar thing, dare I say, with our more day-to-day consumption. I'm just struck with the instance of Sri Lanka you mentioned, Bay of Bengal. And my ancestry is Bangladeshi. Now, if you go to the coastline there, near Chittagong and what have you, there used to be huge shipping hulks dumped there. They just wanted to people who wanted to get their ships off the books and what have you would just dump it there, nowhere else. And the incredible thing about it was, what happened to those shells? Well, there will be people who will come along and break down those hotel bulk ship hulks and break it up to pieces and supply it to the domestic market. Now that's a classic example of recycling. Unfortunately, we can't do this with plastics, and this is where we have to point the finger to the petrochemical corporations. They need to take a huge responsibility. We all know their biodegradable age is much longer than most other things, and they really do need to bring together. If they're going to use plastics, use them which are a lot shorter age for them to biodegrade. But we can do something as well. We need to put messages over to them that we don't, frankly, want our fruits and vegetables in plastic. And also, and one of the few successful things I've seen in my political life in the UK on the plastic front, and it took far too long, though, was when they started asking for money for plastic bags in supermarkets. And what happened? People immediately stopped taking unnecessarily many plastic bags. So people do respond to things like that. The unfortunate thing is that in this country, it just takes such a long time to even get that done, and to get the Tesco's and all the main supermarkets to do that. In Ireland, they did that 20 years ago. It took us 20 years to get to that point. And our political process doesn't allow that, unfortunately. But I do think people do respond to price indicators, even if it's marginal, 20, 30p. And we've got to get the corporations to be better regulated, because the petrochemical industry are making massive profits here. And I don't think it's too much for us to ask for a lot of that to be recycled back and researched into this area.
Thank you very much, and a round of applause to him. So our last but not the least, I think she's already given her a policy recommendation, but she will just round up with her beautiful song. Over to you.
Oh, that's so amazing. Thank you so much. I just want to say, if I had a policy, it would be to make environmental education compulsory in schools. That's as simple as that. I think it's really important to protect our future by, educating our younger generation, But having said that, I think today we should finish off with a special grand finale, as we say. And I'm sure that each and every single one of you believe in protecting the planet. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So today, I'm going to work with you to enjoy a special session of Everybody Plant a Tree workshop. So may I ask you all to please stand up? And I've got my assistant right here. Now I've got a beautiful lady at the back who has just won her, who just did a GCSE. Come and join me here. Be my little assistant. Give her a big hand. Go on. She's so gorgeous. Come on, please. Thank you. Thank you. May I have you here? So this young lady is going to help me, okay? And what's your name?
Eliana.
Eliana, thank you very much. Eliana, you're going to hold this wonderful mic for me just for 2 minutes. And we're going to teach everybody a special something. Now, let's say hello. We believe in protecting the planet. Yes. Yes. So we're going to say everybody. So what I would like you to do is
Everybody. And then we're going to plant a tree. Plant a tree, right? Plant a tree. That's right, it's simple. 2, 3, 4. Everybody plant a tree now. Here we go again. Everybody plant a tree. Very nice. I love that now. This is good. And in between, I'll be just doing some little rolls. So see if you can do some rolls. Come on, we can do the rolls. And we can also do some Bhangra. Come on, you know, you come from India, so we love Bhangra. So hello, ta-da-da, 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 ta. Ta-da-da, 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 ta. So now I'm going to put the music on, and what you would be doing is just following me, okay? And you will be following me as well. So everybody, just in case I can't, they'll follow you. So here we go. A bit of pressure there. All right. You're going to all love this.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Everybody plant a tree now.
Very good.
In the midst of deforestation here in the crisis we face, millions of trees lost, leaving a forest.
Follow. Roll. Here we go.
Everybody plant a tree now.
You can sing.
Everybody plant a tree now. Everybody plant a tree now. Everybody plant a tree now.
Bhangra. Very good.
I jump. Plant this territory. These plant a tree and the move and fall. The windows are up in this story. Monkey carrot to make up. I can't move. And I need to make them straight from the floor. Everybody plant a tree now. Everybody plant a tree now. Everybody plant a tree now. No, 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 no. Everybody plant a tree now. In a world of green, where the rain is alive, seed in the soil, best thing to die. Please plant a tree and let them grow and flow. Into the meadows of happiness, the soul is full. With a pearl and a swirl, let's join the spring. Please plant a tree and set it free. From the roots so deep to the branches so high. Dance with the trees and let's reach for the sky. Some fight for the trees, some yellow trees, some green and some banana and some walnut trees. From the seeds to the leaves, birds and bees, lives and bees. Rain and honey spread the love and seeds.
Let's go, one. Very good.
You plant in Aubrey. Something crucial. Plant a good hero. Maybe that we create a legacy. Every tree planted is a grand story. From the roots of it to the leaves that spin. Dance with the trees at the party begin. Underneath that star where the rain is alive. Dance with the trees, they make us survive. Everybody plant a tree now. Everybody plant a tree now. No, 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 no. Everybody plant a tree now. Everybody plant a tree now. Let's celebrate. Participate. Let's get it right. Let's all unite. Come join the team. And build the dream. That trees at home.
Everybody plant a tree now. Everybody plant a tree now. Plant a tree now. Everybody clap for yourselves. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And that's been our time. That's been our time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And that's been our time. Yes, let's all please come to the stage and have a group photo. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Please come here. Come over. Lorna, please. Where is Robin?
Come and sit. Lorna.
Lorna?
Yalla. Everybody, hey, look my friend. Oh, lovely smile. Beautiful. You know, she came to the
Yes,
women's
I
one.
was there.
You were?
Yes. Yes.
And she wish us making us
Dance.
Yeah, we can do it again. Sit down.
Sit down, please, the picture. Sit down. Look here.
No.
Lorna.
Let the man do it.
I will send you the picture. Sit down.
You can give it to them. You come in as well.
Here, you can sit.
Put your tape.
Let him
down,
sit.
sit
Let
down.
him sit. Everybody plant a tree. La, 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 la.
Everybody plant a tree now.
Say plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Say beat plastic pollution.
Beat plastic pollution.
Yeah.
Beat.
Say beat plastic pollution.
Beat plastic pollution.
One more time.
Big plastic pollution.
Louder.
Come on.
Big plastic pollution.
Come in the picture, my dear. Come in the picture. Come in the picture. Yeah.
The official UPF photographer is standing on the chair.
Oh, okay. You go.
Okay, everyone looking here. 1, 2, 3.
Please come, everyone. Join us. Join us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Excuse me, do you mind if you can do that one, please? Yeah, that phone. The silver one. With the silver at the back, yes. Thank you. Big smile, guys. Big smile. 1, 2, 3.
You're going to come to our...
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
This month, on Tuesday. But if it's not suitable.
Yes.
It's only the second one. But I will,
You let
whatever
me know.
is useful for us,
Yes.
we can do that.
Today, because you asked me, it's quite short notice, but I wanted to make sure I'm here today.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation.